For I and y vec, if I is greater than 600, then we will append vector y with append y, comma I, which is any element in y vector. Then we will print y vec. And question 7, part B, we have to print the index positions in y vec of values which are greater than 600. So we will initialize vector index which is null for I in y vec. If I is greater than 600, then we will use a match function which will return the value in vector at index I which is greater than 600, and then we will append the vector index in question 7 part C. We have to print the values in x vec which corresponds to the value in y vec which are greater than 600. As in above question, we have stored the indices of x, sorry, y vec which are greater than 600. So we will use the index variable here. We will create a vector x that is null for I in index x append x comma x vec I. Then we will print the vector x. In question 7, part D, we have to create a series. Here, capital X stores the mean of x vec. We have a x vector which is default, which is null initially. For x and x vector, we will get a vector p by using abs function returns the positive difference. Then we will take the square root of it and store it in p vector. Then we will append the x vector using append function x vec comma p. Then we will print the x vector which will return the required series. In question 7, part E, we have to count how many values in y vec are within 200 of maximum value. So we will initialize a variable myval as 0 for I in y vec. If I is less than 200, then we will increment the myval as myval plus 1. Then we will print the myval variable. In question 7, part F, we have to count how many numbers in x vec are divisible by 2. So we will take a count variable as 0 initially for j in x vec. If j mod 2 equal to 0, if j is divisible by 2, then it will return 0. Then we will increment our count variable as count plus 1 and then print our count variable. In question 7, part G, we have to sort the x vector. So we will simply use sort function to sort the x vector. In question 7 part H, we have to pick out the elements in Y-Vec at index 1, 4, 7, 10, etc. So we will take a count variable which is initially 0 for j in x, sorry, then we will take a variable x vector which is initially a null vector and vector which is also initially null. Then by using sequence function we will create a indices like 1, 4, 7, 10, etc. by from 1 to 250 by plus 3. Then we will append the x vector using append function by these sequences. For I in x, we will append the vector x at index. We will append a vector with values at indices 1, 4, 10, which are stored in I, and then we will print the vector. Thank you.